Good morning. Oh, really? That's pretty weak. Coffee's not happening? See if this is. I don't like this one. Let's try another one. We don't like this one. Let's try this guy. That works. That's Seema. She's there. Give her a big round of applause. That's me. Give me a big round of applause. All right, excellent. So we're going to do a little walk through what's happening now, what's new, what's next, and what it means. If I gave this speech 2 days ago, it would be a different speech. If I gave this speech yesterday, it'd be a pretty different speech. And I woke up the other day to this. Oh, by the way, anything that I cover today you want more of, everything's free here at shellypalmer.com/AI. There's a course you can take, which is free. There's all kinds of stuff you can do there, resource pages, whatever you're thinking about AI, what's new and what you need to know, and stuff you probably don't need to know, it's there. Anyway, I woke up the other day to this. That's me, by the way, except it isn't me. It's not even close to me.
Hi, I'm Shelly Palmer, or am I? As I've been saying, there's no question AI is a technology that will revolutionize our world, but look, it's complicated. The latest controversy involving OpenAI's use of a Scarlett Johansson-like voice is exemplary of the myriad of IP issues we're going to need to resolve. As this technology evolves, you can count on me to provide commentary, or a reasonable facsimile of me, that is.
Seriously? That was posted by Terry Kawaja. Those of you who don't know Terry, he's the principal at Luma Partners, a tech and media M&A firm, and a stand-up comedian. And he's known for putting memes and crazy videos and parody videos online with everyone in the media business. He did not ask me, nor did he tell me. I found this out by just doing the normal course of my life. Now, I like it, so that's okay. But what if I didn't like it? What if I was Scarlett Johansson and he was, Sam Altman, and this was like not cool? What's my recourse? Who do I go see? What do I go do? I've written something like 2.2 million words that are on the public internet since 1996 when I started publishing my daily blog. And what's fascinating about that is that Shakespeare only wrote 895,000 words. His are better than mine, I'm not going to argue. But if you ask ChatGPT, or you ask Claude, or you ask actually any of the large language models who I am, they will tell you. If you ask it, can you write a blog post in the style of Shelly Palmer, it will say, some will say, we don't write in specific, I'm a large language model, I don't write in specific things, but Shelly's known for blah, 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 blah. And then when you say, write this post in his style, it will. And if you do it with ChatGPT, it won't even bother to tell you it doesn't do it. It says, yes, he's known for this, and he writes in a professional, concise style. It will name the style so you could ask for it, and then it will proceed to write a blog post I would not recognize as not my own. Who do I go see about this? Part of what we're going to talk about today is how difficult the next couple of years are going to be, not technologically, because that ship has sailed. Tech is coming faster and more furiously than it has ever come. It's how we're going to lead our way through it. It's how we are sociologically going to get through it, how we are going to legally get through it, who's going to get paid, how they're going to get paid, what are the business models that actually function, and what are the ones that are really going to break the status quo and break it hard. Now, everyone thinks AI was invented on November 30th, 2022. It wasn't. It was invented in the 50s, and we're not going to do a history lesson now. I don't have time. But at the end of the day, we've been putting neural networks to work in clients for about 15 years. We've had transformers going since a white paper called Attention's All You Need in 2017, and bidirectional encoders, those transformers at Google. 2017-18 is when real transformer networks started to be deployed. No one cared. Literally nobody cared. November 30th, 2022 comes along. ChatGPT is made a consumer product. Everybody knows the cliche. It's got the fastest technology that ever got to 100 million users. Great. That's all good. This date is probably the most important date in human communications history, because this is the CG boundary. This is the curation generation boundary. Every minute of every day prior to November 30th, 2022, if you went on the public web and you looked for something, there was a 99.9% chance that what you found was created with the heavy hand of a human being, for sure. Yeah, narrative sciences was taking sports scores and putting them into newspapers and what have you. There was some rudimentary use of machine learning and AI tools to write something, but anything you found, even something like Avatar the movie, which may be one of the greatest CG movies of all time, was directed and heavily created by humans. Post November 30th, 2022, we are in the generative era, full on. Every day that we go past November 30th, 2022, or more than a year into it now, there is less and less likely a chance that what you find online was created solely by a human being. Humans are no longer the sole creators and sole writers of human history. And I want that to sink in for a second. Human beings are no longer the sole writers of their own history. Now, if you think about it for just a second, the danger of monoculturalism becomes instantly real. Everything we think we know about what uniqueness means is becoming aggregated, and the use of synthetic data on top of synthetic data, and you've already done it. You know you have. You're using your iPhone and it starts to autocomplete. Hey, I'm in a cab. You damn you autocorrect. That's where it started. But now every email, everybody who's getting Copilot or Gemini inside their office tools, your workspaces, you are starting to write. It is auto-completing. Now it's going to start doing whole paragraphs for you. Pretty soon there's going to be a standardization to how you summarize a meeting that's so obviously done by a machine, it will become commonplace and we'll never write them again. 90% of the emails you write are perfunctory. If they're even necessary in an agentic world, they're going to all be the same. Everything that makes you you, everything that you find menial and a pain in the butt, they're all going to just become homogeneously built by tools. What does that really, really mean? This journey starts 3,500 years ago. This is the lost city of Ephesus. Well, obviously it's not lost, it's on the screen, but it's by Kushadasa, Turkey. This is the Great Theater. Have you been there? Anybody been to the Great Theater in Ephesus? This place is wild. First of all, you would recognize it as a theater you'd go to today. It's got seats have numbers, there's indoor plumbing, and there's concession stands. And every night, there are 4 theaters buried there. There's from 7,000 to 28,000 seats. And every night, every person in the theater, in the town, was guaranteed a seat in this theater. To see what? To see a political debate, an oration, a comedy, a tragedy, a musical concert. Every single person got to see something every night. The most amazing, amazing environment to experience community and to experience media. And everything that was put on that stage was curated. The words were curated, the music was curated, everything was curated for one and only one metric: engagement. 3,500 years later, nothing has changed. You want to know the best examples of that? The TikTok feed, probably the greatest engagement tool ever built by humans. Everybody here have a TikTok account? Who has a TikTok account in this room? The rest of you don't start. 5 minutes a day for 5 days, and it will know everything there is to know about you, better than you know yourself, and you will doom scroll till you die. Now, there are things you can do to help yourself. There are drugs you can take. There are encounter groups you can go to. But seriously, don't start. Don't start. It's that good. But it's not the only one. You got the Facebook feed. You've got certainly every other feed, the Amazon recommendation engine, the Netflix recommendation engine. All of these are seriously only judged by one metric: engagement. Now, in order to curate something, you first have to create it. And to create something costs money. It just does. It always has. It costs money to create. You've got to store it somewhere, and that storage costs money. But more than anything, you have to describe it. Metadata, the data that describes other data, is at least equal to, if not more important than the data it describes. You want to think about it one way: you've got 1,000 songs on your iPhone. You don't know what they are without the metadata. Then you'll know the artist and the name of the song. So the metadata is critical, absolutely critical to your use of the data. Now you got to get it right. So this picture that I just had, is this ancient ruins? Is it a theater? Is it Ephesus? It's all those things. Is it Kushadasa? Is it Turkey? Of course it is. Is it the Great Theater? Yes, that's the name of it. Is it an amphitheater? Nope, it's not. So if I tag this as amphitheater, amphitheaters are in the round, theaters are this, okay? This looks like an ancient ruin. You say, oh, it's an old amphitheater, because you think of the Colosseum in Rome, or you think about some amphitheaters in Rome. No, this is a theater. So if I'm looking for amphitheaters and this shows up, I'm in the wrong place. Metadata is critical. And to this day, if you are training a model, what is the most important part of training a model? Professional annotation and classification. You have to be able to classify the data. You need evaluations to understand if you got it right. So even now, the most important part of training is getting your metadata correct. Now, let's compare and contrast this with the CG boundary. What happens afterwards? This is from September 2023. This is the winning image of the Colorado State Fair Digital Arts Competition. It's called Theater de Spatial, the Opera Spatial. It's by a guy named Jason Allen, except it isn't. It won. This is the winning entry, but it wasn't created by Jason Allen. It was prompted by Jason Allen, and the other artists lost their minds when they found out how it was done. Now, in September of 2023, Midjourney was free. So that's low or no cost. And it was about 90 seconds to make this image. That's near or in real time. Think about this for a minute. If I needed to create this image, first I'm going to paint it. This is at least 100 hours of painting, if anyone's ever painted. Use it. You can do it in Procreate. You can do it in Illustrator. You could do it in Photoshop. You could do it in Maya. There's a million tools you could do this in. You're 100 hours into that painting if you're even slightly serious about making it. This is 90 seconds. So near or at real time, near or in at no cost. The difference between curation and generation. This transition is the most profound transition in history. There are three things I want to talk to you about today that are the three areas that we are super concentrated in our business. And they are in no particular order: productivity, talking to data, and new product. Starting with productivity, how many people in this room are completely sure they know how a large language model works? Hands? Hands? Whew. Okay, guys, here's the thing. I don't have time. No, I don't. I don't have time to tell you exactly how this works. I'm going to tell you kind of how it works, and then you're going to say, he didn't explain it well. Sorry. It's a word calculator. What it does is it, vector space, anybody? Vector space, vector database, vector space? Never studied. Okay, imagine the largest spreadsheet you've ever seen in your life, like 1 million rows and 1 million columns. Everybody got it? Now think about like 1 million spreadsheets. We've just created a three-dimensional space that's 1 million by 1 million by 1 million. Giant spreadsheet, right? Big three-dimensional space. Put the origin somewhere in the middle. Now, every single point in this three-dimensional space we just invented has a name. It's a cell, right? An X, Y, and a Z coordinate, right? You got this in your head, right? You got 1 million rows, 1 million columns, and 1 million spreadsheets deep. Put something in there. A token, a tiny little piece of something, not a whole word. If it's a picture, not a pixel, something a little bigger, just a little chunk. If it's music, not just a single sample, a little chunk. In English, there are 65 letters and spaces. 3 to 4 English characters is a token. I'm going to use words really quickly right now, just because words are easier for you to understand. It does not store words. One more time. It does not store words. When you put a file like a Word document into your computer and you store it, it stores an invariant model of what you wrote. And when you call it back, you get it back. When you put something into a vector database, into vector space, when you put it there, it is broken up into millions of little bits that are stored in vector space, which I'm going to talk about in 1 second. And when you call it back, you get the next best probabilistic guess at what token comes next in the chat window. Has nothing to do with normal databases. Totally different way. So man sits somewhere along this sex assigned at birth vector that's from the origin, and woman will sit somewhere over there too, and they'll be about this far apart, let's say, man and woman, not the actual words. Man might be 1 token, woman's definitely 2. All right? Definitely. So, okay, now king and queen are sort of, well, not king and queen, let's do aunt and uncle are sort of like man and woman, but they're not sex assigned at birth. They're family relationships. So over here in another vector called family relationships, I'm going to have aunt and uncle, and they're going to be about the same distance apart as man and woman because the relationship is roughly the same mathematically. I used king and queen a second ago. Let's use that. So king and queen's on like a monarchy vector that's in a completely other space. And king and queen, they should be about the same apart as man and woman and aunt and uncle, but they won't be because queen could be a drag queen or queen bee or Beyonce. It could be anything. So it's queen's going to be like some other thing. When I asked the large language model, what happened was this concept I mentioned before called self-attention, this completely new way to think about context. And the context of a sentence dramatically impacts your ability to translate it or understand it. Okay, Shelly's always looking for trouble. Trouble's always looking for Shelly. Exactly the same words, completely different meaning. Seema drove down the street in her car. Listen to the sentence again. Seema drove down the street in her car. Seema drove down the street in her car. Is the street in her car or is the car on the street? A 3-year-old human being knows that cars go on streets and people go in cars, but computers aren't people. They have no context whatsoever. Listen to that sentence. The preposition's ambiguous. Seema drove down the street in her car. That street could be in the car. It's called prepositional phrase attachment ambiguity. It is a fact of every language on earth. Without context, you can't possibly translate or understand the sentence. Can't be done. So what these calculators do is they look all the way back at every single token as far as they can. And there are different kinds of models that use different kinds of lookbacks. And ultimately what they do is they predict probabilistic math. They simply predict using linear algebra what the next best token should be. When they get it right, life is good. When they get it wrong, we say it's hallucinating. It's going to look exactly like English, exactly, except it's going to be nonsense. If you say, should I leave my wife or significant other or boyfriend or girlfriend or Martian? It's read every romance novel in the history of the world. It's seen Real Housewives of Atlanta. It's done all of that. It's going to give you an answer. If you listen to it, you're a moron. Do not for 1 second think that what is coming out of these tools is sentient, contextual, or real. It is a calculation of the next best token. End of story. This is a calculator. This is no more alive, no more sentient, no more thinking, literally, than your toaster oven or that TI calculator you got in college to calculate mortgages and trigonometry. Knows nothing. When someone tells you this thing is sentient or it's thinking, really doesn't get what I just told you at all and hasn't really thought about it. When someone says, oh, you've stolen and scraped my work, you have an invariant model of my work and you need to pay me for it, they could not surface that work with a gun at their head. It's not how it's stored. Everything that looks like the answer to the should I leave my significant other question is all clustered around in a vector called should I leave my significant other vector. Very important. Is it intelligent? Sure. What are the signs of intelligent really quickly? Comprehend an idea, solve a problem, keep something in your head that's complex? Sure. Can it learn quickly? No. It's a pre-trained transformer. Generative pre-trained transformers, GPT. If you want it to learn, you have to store the data, annotate it professionally, classify it, and then retrain the model. You could fine-tune the model when just the name GPT screams, fine-tune me. I'm general purpose trained. You will fine-tune this model to make it useful. Learn from experience? Nope. So when someone says, well, don't put your data in ChatGPT, it's like, why? I clicked a button that says, don't use my data. They say they're not going to use my data. They are not. Why do they need your data, like your sensitive data? It can't learn quickly. These are task-based models. We're going to get to agentic models in a second. Plan, it can write a plan. Hey, I need to lose 25 pounds by Christmas. Actually, I need to lose 25 pounds right now. But it'll write me a plan to do that because it's seen a million exercise plans. If it's seen a plan, it's going to be able to write you a plan. Would you trust that plan? You'd be crazy. You'd literally be crazy. It's not an exercise physiologist. It's not a doctor. It doesn't have my nutritional information. It knows nothing about me. It's given me the aggregate of all plans ever written about losing 25 pounds by Christmas. Maybe it's good for you. Maybe it will kill you. You will not know till you're dead. Don't do it. The one thing that's crazy about this is reason. Reason is interesting. You're allowed to laugh at this stuff that's funny, by the way, and if you don't, I'm going to be pissed. I'm just letting you know that. So this other thing is reason. GPT 3.5, when it came out a couple of years ago, well, a year and a half ago, started to demonstrate this bizarre emergent quality of reason. If you asked it to solve a complex problem, it would get it wrong. But if you asked it to solve an equation, actually, it didn't do math. The new models all do math very well. Some of them do better than others. But when you said to GPT 3.5, teach me how to solve this equation, it would reason through the entire problem, and there was a 90% chance after it reasoned through the whole thing, it would get it right. It was really freaky. One thing I learned 3 weeks ago at a dinner party that was given during the Google Cloud conference, and I had 30 engineers, all senior engineers and professors that were working in AI at a dinner that was supposed to last a couple hours. We started at 6:30, it ended 2:30 in the morning. It was like the nerd fest of all nerd fests. And one thing I learned that night, big companies are not thinking, the big tech companies are not thinking about AI the way I'm describing it to you right now. They're all thinking about AGI, artificial general intelligence. There's no real definition for it. You're loosely defined as computer models that can think and act and do as much as a human can in the kind of human timeframes and learn in a cross-discipline way, apply what it's learned from one thing to something else. That's the rough approximation. Everyone's got their own definition. That what you're not thinking about is how you're going to be more efficient in business. When you get this right, the Turing test, everybody says, well, you know, I fooled the computer into thinking it's a person. This isn't a test for the computers to pass. It's for humans to fail, and you will fail it. When you play with a large language model, it's programmed to make you think you're talking to another person. Pi, which is one of my favorite EQ trained models, you think you're talking to like a psychiatrist. It's just the way it's programmed. So it's the way it's fine tuned. Multimodal are the new words. Just 2 weeks ago, both OpenAI and Google came out with fully multimodal models. Anything in, anything out. Take out your smartphone, stream into Gemini, stream into GPT-4o. And say, hey, well, how many people here are wearing blue shirts? It'll count the blue shirts. Like the only thing, GPT-4o does not have video output yet. It will. Sora is the name of that product that's coming out at the end of the year. Google's VO product kind of works. We'll be there. We'll be fully multimodal. That means anything in, anything out very soon. All right, for productivity, we're killing it here. You're going to get Copilot, Gemini, ChatGPT for $30 a month at your office. It is a level playing field. When I had it and nobody else had it, it was like Darth Vader and the Emperor had the Death Star. Now it's like you get a Death Star and you get a Death Star and you get everyone gets a Death Star now. So it's nothing. It's table stakes. These are usually deployed as crippled products, mostly because your compliance and risk managers and everybody who is in the office that his job is to say no has said no emphatically about this. And so it's a level playing field, but these tools won't suck forever. They just suck right now in the context of working in your office. How many in this room have a ChatGPT account? How many of you have the paid version? All right, the rest of you cheapskates, listen to me. Pony up, because you need, ChatGPT is the GOAT at the moment. If you want to go free, Meta.ai is a web interface into Llama 3. It's very good. But it's not great. It's very good. Great is ChatGPT based on GPT-4. Weird with quirky moments of goodness is GPT-4o, and you have to use them every day to understand why and what. These things kind of go in cycles. You should, if you're in the business, be dealing with Copilot inside a Word. You should be. You can buy that individually now. ChatGPT, certainly one of the paid versions. I prefer ChatGPT for Teams, but you do what you want. The free version is crippled. Don't be confused. It's not the same thing. Gemini 1.5 has issues. I'll leave it there. Hopefully no one from Google is going to yell at me in the room. But this is table stakes. What makes it not table stakes, if you take nothing else away from today, from this speech, what makes it not table stakes is your subject matter expertise. This is not a skills democratizer the way you're thinking about skills democratization. Sure, if you're not an artist and you say, make me a picture, it's going to make a picture you couldn't paint. I got that. But it will do that for everybody. So is that democratization of? Yeah, it is. But it also is democratization of crap. It's like everybody has it. It's the same thing. It's like, because you can type doesn't mean you can write a novel. But if you know what you're looking for, if you understand the output you want and you can evaluate it in real time, this thing can quantifiably make you unbelievably more productive. If you are great at your job, you are going to get 10 times more productive. This is not hyperbole. I'm probably doing 2.5 years of work in a year this year based on these tools, personally, quantifiably on hours spent doing what I do. If you're good at your job, Harvard University says you're like 40% better, better's the wrong word, more productive. And if you suck at your job, you are guaranteed to still suck. There is no way around it. There is no way around it. Subject matter expertise is the key differentiator. It's the only thing. No one in this room, the cliche goes like this, no one in this room is losing their job to AI. No one here, I promise you. You are going to definitely lose your job to somebody who uses AI better than you do. That's a cliche for a reason. It is sacrosanct. It is absolute. There is no way in the world that next year this time, you're not competing with somebody who's just better at this than you are. So you better be better than they are. It's just that simple. There's no point in improving productivity. There's no point in any way in getting more productive on old-fashioned workflow and process. You need to innovate workflow and process with the same intensity at the same pace that the tech is being innovated. So that means redoing everything. Here's a traditional marketing Gantt chart we've all seen. I'm going to reduce that brand brief now to variables. I'm not going to write a whole brand brief. I'm just going to write the variables: product, service, advantages, benefits, what have you. Then I'm going to pick a framework. I know what performance marketing frameworks look like. And if you don't know what the framework is that you write in, take your 4 best performing emails and have the model analyze it and have it tell you what framework you're in. And then you're going to do a prompt that says, using this particular framework, include all of these attributes, all of these variables. Now, this constrains the model to just your language. It's not going to hallucinate. You've told it what you want it to do, and then you're going to let it go. And then at no or low cost, in near or at real time, you are going to start building marketing messages. And these marketing messages are relentless because you're not going back to a copywriter saying, oh, this didn't work. Here's the brand brief again. This is the data we've just learned. No, you're telling the model this didn't work. Here are the reasons why. And the model's going to rewrite it in a new framework. And it's going to keep testing relentlessly. Instead of A/B testing, we're alpha omega testing as fast as we can. Marketing is completely changed. And the human copywriters are going to say, no, I'm a human. I'm special. I write better. The hell you do. I've just given you back a pile of data you have to now interpret, try and understand. The computer doesn't have to try to understand it. It's seen a million patterns you haven't seen. It stored them in a vector database. It stored them in a vector space that it understands, and it's now constrained to understand what the new variables are. It's going to kick your ass every time. Marketing is never going to be the same, ever, ever, ever. This thing's writing very good copy, and when it doesn't work, it rewrites it in near or at real time for no or very low cost. Keep that in your mind, because a copywriter on the best day costs money and takes time. How much time and how much money? It's up to you. Okay, talking to data. I've got 3 minutes left, and I'm going to go 3 minutes over. This is one of the coolest things. What we're doing now is we're using large language models as a transformation layer. We let it speak the language it's supposed to speak. So every one of you has had a report in your life. Every one of you has had a dashboard in your life. And when you need to change the report or dashboard, you call the data office if you have one, who calls a programmer if you have one, and they remake your dashboard or they remake your report. Well, now we don't do that. Now we're going to look at your database, and this is a tool that was built for the NHL, our National Hockey League, our NHL client, by a company called Pramana. It's their shift tool. This creates SQL queries off of natural language. So what skater has the longest active road streak, blah, blah, blah. It's going to interpret this immediately, build SQL queries, bring up the information, but it brings up this information in a lot of different form factors. So it's going to write the lower third chiron for the game. It's going to create tables in every possible permutation. It's doing the work of like 20 different interns with a pregame setup. So there's the lower third. There's all the social. It's all instantly built for you. Any question you can begin with the words what or how can be asked directly of a database. No dashboard, no report. What's the last day we can sell a full-priced widget before we have to mark it down, transship it, or send it back to the manufacturer? Seasoned executives, subject matter experts, now empowered to talk directly to a database. The output of this, we just changed on to GPT-4. You can say you're acting as a color commentator. You're acting as a coach. You're acting as a trainer. You're acting as a play-by-play announcer. You can literally give it personalities. We've also given it voices, cloned voices. We've also given it visuals, blockies. Literally, this database can reproduce entire hockey games. New ways to think about how to deal with clients. Lastly, new product. I wrote this 2 years ago for my then 18-month-old youngest granddaughter. It's a storytelling tool. Everything I've shown you so far has been a task-oriented tool where you type in a task you want the thing to do, and based on your quality of your prompt, it does your bidding. This tool, StoryScript, is agentic. This is 4 stacked models. First is a large language model. In this case, it's GPT-4. But we refactor this every week. You choose the canon that you're interested in this case, Star Wars. You choose the age of your child. It's going to generate 4 original Star Wars stories, right, or 3 original Star Wars stories for a 10-year-old in near or at real time at no or low cost. An Audacious Escape, The Wookiees Rescue, Forsaken HoloNet, 4 completely separate models. Let's read for a second. The vast interior of the Imperial Star Destroyer resounded with the rhythmic hum of machinery as Darth Vader stalked through its shadowy corridors. His black cape billowed eerily behind him, an ominous symbol of his dark power. ChatGPT doesn't write like this. Of course it doesn't. The second database, the second stack in this AI stack is a vector database with every story arc, beginning, middle, and ending, rising action, climax, falling action, the entire scholastic vocabulary list for what grade level you need to be, and a bunch of character information. The third is an image database. And what does it do? It makes images in near or at real time for low or close to no cost. And it also generates cloned voices. You want Ryan Reynolds to read you Marvel Comics or James Earl Jones to read you Star Wars. Importantly, this is a story engine. It's an agentic tool. The last is a neural network in the stack that just does what a normal neural network does. It decides what you liked and what you didn't like and gives you more of what you want. I could teach you the Bible in the canon of Lord of the Rings. I could teach you math. I could teach you calculus in the canon of the NBA. This is a story engine. It's what the writers went on strike about. I'm done, but I'm going to leave you with one thought. Yes is the answer to this question. So that's not the one thought I'm leaving you with. That's not the thought I'm leaving you with. That's not the thought I'm leaving you with. I don't care about that, but you will. This is super important, but we can't talk about it. By the way, this is where the bias is. But here, you must know this. As a marketer, as a brand innovator, as someone who's sitting in this room, how many times, literally, how many times in your life has someone stood on stage in a marketing conference and said authenticity is everything? The more authentic you are, the more better your marketing is going to be. Like some version of that. This is the fastest growing app in all of AI right now. The top quintile of users of character AI are on there 2.5 hours a day for entertainment. What are they doing there? Fake Paris Hilton, fake Elon Musk. Is there a real Elon Musk? I don't know. Fake boyfriends, fake girlfriends. You can, for $10 a month, you can put Albert Einstein, Marie Curie, Stephen Hawking, and Isaac Newton in a chat room and talk physics with them. These are fake. These people are fake. They're all pixels. 13 to 32-year-olds are preferring this to talking to real people. One more time. Preferring synthetic communication to talking to real people. So is this authentic synthetic? This is the #1 yearbook app from last year. It's called Epic, E-P-I-K. It's not Epic, E-P-I-C. Can you imagine this young lady's grandchildren 30 years from now saying, look at those early 20s fake AI pics of grandma. I wonder what she really looked like in junior high school. You put 12 selfies into this app and that's what you get. And that's what people were putting in for yearbook pics. This magazine is 100% synthetic. Fashion's synthetic. The people are synthetic. Everything is synthetic. Super popular. This is the most G-rated picture I could find of Mia Sophia. She does not exist at all. She has millions of social followers across all of her social. And she's not real. She's one of millions of virtual and synthetic influencers. She's not real at all. But 13 to 32-year-old boys just don't seem to care. Anything I didn't cover, you know where to find it. Thank you.